She wants lots of babies. She wants a big family. And I said to myself, pure gold, right? We live in a culture where children are hated. That's why we murder millions of them every year. And so if you want to know kind of immediately, is your girl a feminist? Like, she might be trying to hide that from you, bro.
Welcome to the Trash Cats Trash Cast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
And today we are rejoining the war on men's rights here with our adversary, Eric Conn.
Eric, why don't you just talk about gospel centrality? Why do you have to talk about biblical sexuality? Because it's a matter of life and death and eternity.
Another shitty hard men episode.
It's the way life is supposed to be.
Yeah, this one, it's on the ideal woman, and I'm sure it will be very interesting.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
I heard the first couple minutes of it while we were setting up, and
well, he takes us for a ride. I'll give an intro, but first, how was your week?
Week's been okay. I'm working less, and I'm feeling better. And that's about where I'm at.
That's pretty good.
Getting little shit done that's weighs heavy on my mind. But yeah. How about you? How's your week?
It's been okay. K-Dogs holding strong.
K-Money.
K-Money. I did have an interesting experience. Did you see that the Internet Archive was hacked?
No.
It's been down for the last 2 weeks, mostly off, a little on, and it got me curious. And I was Internet Archive, looking up my old internet stuff,
and
I found my MySpace page from high school.
Sick. How was that?
It's actually really sad, bro. It's deranged. Holy shit, that shit's crazy, dude.
Yeah, what a lunatic.
What a lunatic. Fucking psycho. And then
you look back at now, you put yourself in the shoes of the teachers that you had to go to the school that they worked at.
So irresponsible.
And they were like, this kid for sure is going to cause a problem.
I don't understand. Those teachers are reckless, dude.
The teachers were reckless.
And then the same day, I got a notification oh, your G drive is full, right? You're not going to get email. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's my old email address. And I cracked open that bad boy. I had to figure out what the password was. Holy shit. Wild, dude. I couldn't believe these things are just floating around in a drive somewhere. How is this allowed to be online?
It says the person who uploaded them.
What a crazy person did this.
That's fucking funny.
But I did take a little bit of my own advice last week. I've been fucking with little meditation and a bit of yoga, and it's actually been pretty good. Chilling out a bit.
Does it count as meditating if while I'm getting ready in the morning, I pour myself a cup of coffee, and instead of sitting down to enjoy it like a regular person, I just stand in my kitchen over the counter and kind of slowly slurp it down?
Not exactly. I think
looking at the wall and the floor.
I think depending on how abstract you want to make the idea of it, it definitely can be.
It's not a hard no.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I just saw on Netflix they dropped a new Zodiac killer documentary.
Oh, fun. Cool.
It just seems like a whatever.
Does it have new and updated information that we didn't previously have?
I think the twist on it is that I may be mistaken because I only watched a bit, but I think the focus of it is talking to the family members of the believed killer. Because the Zodiac, I think, is still officially unsolved, but there's one person who it's widely believed. So it's speaking with people that knew who this guy was.
Okay.
And it seems interesting. I don't know if it's any of it's like unknown info, but definitely sheds a different light on things. And I just was thinking, this Zodiac killer guy, not a very nice dude. Wasn't very nice.
Kind of a bummer, really.
Well, here's the thing. It's more the loss of potential. Like, I mean, what a waste. Here's the thing. I just don't get killing indiscriminately. Put your evilness to good use. How can you just kill randoms? And even more than that, they're just like kids having their first kiss in a car or fucking around in a field or whatever. Like, you want to kill them in a happy moment?
Mm-hmm,
like, you could do so much. You could put that towards such better ends.
There's so many more people that deserve it.
There are so many more deserving people. I just reflect on the Zodiac. I meditate on the Zodiac killer, and I think, just what a loss. What a loss of
What
potential.
a waste.
Yeah.
We had an assassin. He didn't.
It's just so disappointing. And
Waste of assassin money.
he was so interesting and clever. I mean, he sounds like he might have been just a loser, but he had aura, you know? He had style points and shit.
Yeah.
Why couldn't he have done something cooler? But are you familiar? I think we talked about it a little. His last cryptography, his cipher.
He put out one way late in the game, right? Like
he put out
15 years later or some shit.
I think so. I think you're correct. But I think we covered it on here. One of them was solved using an AI, and I think it was his last one, but I may be misremembering. But I was thinking about ciphers, and have you ever fucked around with ciphering?
Only a little bit, not in a successful way, but during the time when I got way into making fonts and stuff, it was how can I make while I'm making a font, I can make something that's passable as a cipher.
Yeah.
And a cipher only works if there are more people
to decipher it.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's there to try to read it.
To know how it works, knows the rules, the logics.
Yeah, all the scribbles in the side of my, English notes.
Now, I'm no Zodiac killer, but I was remembering that I had a cipher I made as a child, as a young genius child, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can teach it to someone in 3 minutes. And it would take a lot of effort to crack it.
The best cipher is not even a cipher at all. It's just gibberish. And then it leaves people
befuddled.
Puzzled.
Yeah.
At the questioning at the scene of the crime.
Well,
what does this mean?
That's what they thought the last Zodiac cipher was. They thought maybe that was just a prank. Just a little goof. Keep the cops on their toes. His writings are very interesting, though. But anyway... Talking about fucking serial killers, let's talk about Eric Conn.
I mean, it's close enough.
It's not slanderous at all. Today we resume our journey into the Hard Men podcast. Today we're on the 7th episode of Eric Conn's bullshit, titled, What is the Ideal Woman? This is the longest and quite possibly the most deceptive episode yet. From this evangelical scumbag pastor.
He's a piece of shit.
Listening back to some of the previous episodes, I realized he was one of these born-again losers. Now, in case you forgot, I thought we could all use a quick reminder of some of Eric Conn's general sentiments thus far. Being soft is bad.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Being hard is good.
Hell yeah.
Women are soft.
Of course.
And men should be hard.
100%.
That's classic Conn right there. Now, men who are effeminate are obviously soft and thus woman-like.
Yeah.
Similar to being gay, being soft is obviously unrighteous and sinful.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Most young boys, I'm quoting, most young boys who persistently act like girls grow up to be homosexual or bisexual. A 15-year study of, quote, sissy boys has shown. So there is a definite correlation between acting effeminately and becoming homosexual. And they are both, hear me, they are both sin.
Men are meant for dominion. They should be hard for God so that they can dominate the world for God's glory.
We're to rule over the fish of the sea. We're to take dominion. And again, as we spoke of last episode, this means men were for making babies and raising them to be covenant-keeping sons. And then, second of all, men were to raise armies that took the world into dominion for the glory of God. Of course, there's the necessary help of woman.
Now, you may ask, what is a... God damn it, that's a fucking tongue twist. Now, you may ask, what is a woman's role here in God's plan? Well, they should be dominated too, but far more compassionately, so that they are still willing to play a support role in a man's holy quest for world domination.
They will build armies along with their wife, the woman that God has given them in their youth.
Now, if it's not obvious, liberal thought and feminism are clearly devil's tricks that make men soft and prevent women from being submissive to their husband and God. In Eric's world, women are essentially glorified breeding stock, special only as a useful tool to birth the man's child army.
Mm-hmm.
All of a woman's worth is derived from her role as a mother. Now, I think it's important to keep all of this in mind because in our episode today, Eric's going to be up to all of his classic tricks. For portions of this episode, he may even sound reasonable or just a little old-fashioned. But that's exactly what these losers do. He's hiding his power level. Too spineless to say it explicitly. He's going to temper his words, hiding behind the church and tradition.
I am naturally inclined to be a coward.
He pretends that his ideal oppressions are really compassions, because Eric Conn and his shitty God know what's best for women. Serving God by serving man.
Wow. Yeah. No, that about sums it up.
I was going to make a supercut, but honestly, my memory was a little biased because in my head, I'm like, fucking Eric hates women, right? I mean,
yeah.
But
we hold that truth to be self-evident.
Well, here's the thing, though. When I'm looking for evidence of this, he has a lot of things that are clearly disrespectful, clearly shows his lack of care towards women. But most of what he says is really just hating effeminate or gay men. Like, the majority of what he says is really just hating a certain type of man. And then
it's to be kind of transcribed through that he hates men that are this way. And that translates to
softness.
Like if men are supposed to be this way and women are supposed to be the other way, if men are the other way, that's bad. But why is that bad?
Well, I agree. Yes. And I feel like we have demonstrated that in our past episodes. But to Steelman, his argument is, I believe Eric would say, well, it's obvious it's bad that men are soft and women-like, but for a woman, that is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
He's tricky. He's a little weasel. But I think a lot of his true sentiments about women can be deciphered, similar to the Zodiac Killer, by what he doesn't say, right? He has strong feelings about what a hard man is, but his opinions of what is the softest woman aren't there to balance, right? It's a very unbalanced scale, and as we'll hear today, the things he does want for women, or what he does think is compassionate or a righteous or holy life all boils down to being a mother and serving their husband. And that's like the limit of what he feels a woman's freedom or worth or existence should really be. But he's not one of these like red pill guys that is just outright like women are sluts, they're whores, like they should be submissive to us because they're lesser. Like he's not that outright or abrasive, but the sentiments are exactly the same.
Yeah. He's wearing the same socks and he's wearing the same shoes and he's has the same disguise on as a red-pilled lunatic, but he doesn't exactly dictate in the same way.
Yeah, he's not alpha enough.
Yeah, he's softer than they are.
Far softer. So with all that in mind...
Well, hey, listen, we all have aspirations.
Yeah. To be an evangelical priest is not among them. Should we kick this off?
Yeah, fucking hell.
Hardmen, Episode 7. What is the ideal woman?
Jesus.
You're listening to the Hardmen Podcast, reclaiming biblical masculinity in a world
Right back and ready for war.
Bro, that music, man, brings me right back.
Yeah, we're right back in it.
What is the ideal woman? One of the most important decisions a man can make in his life is the kind of woman he chooses to date or marry.
It's pretty important.
In this episode of the Hard Men Podcast, we'll be talking about the biblical picture of the ideal woman. Okay. I'll be discussing what Proverbs 31 has to say about this woman's character, and then contrasting that ideal with several faulty cultural views on femininity that tend to dominate today.
So he doesn't like modern femininity.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've never considered judging the character of a woman based on the Proverbs, so this should be illuminating.
We'll also look at the historical trends in feminism and culture that have shaped our view of womanhood today, and we'll look at some practical tips for choosing the right spouse, helping your wife grow in biblical faithfulness as a woman, and what to do if you're already married to a feminist.
But Eric, I've already married a feminist. What do I do? You didn't find out until afterward. Because you didn't pay attention to her.
Yeah, that'll do it.
We're going to start today by examining some false ideals about womanhood and femininity that have even dominated in the church.
Oh no.
So I want to look at
the old feminist
today,
church.
starting with number one, patriarchal doormat. The woman is a patriarchal doormat. In so many churches, what you find is that a woman is essentially a doormat to her husband. She doesn't have a mind of her own. She doesn't have any say in the relationship. She walks around and she dotes upon her husband day and night. And the only expression that comes out of her mouth is, I don't know, honey. What would you like to do?
Pause. 211. This is what I meant by saying he was going to be deceptive, right? He's starting this episode out by saying, oh, the church is so historically patriarchal, making women doormats. And then right after he gets over all these tropes of the church, he's going to talk about why women should be doormats. Bro, it's crazy. Like, it's such a gaslight. Everything he said about the prior, it's just, he's doing like the classic Ben Shapiro, where it's like, I give all the extreme takes, and then when I'm addressing it specifically, I'll give a much more tempered, more reasonable, we're just conservative and old-fashioned take, where it's like, this is not how you truly feel. Or if you listen to them long enough, you figure out what they really feel.
Exactly.
Right? It's this uber passive, sort of weak woman who is a doormat for her husband's tyranny, domineering rule in the home. And what are the results? Well, the results are generally she kind of turns into a zombie.
Right.
So he must want women to be strong, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
Right.
don't let your husband be a tyrant.
Let's see if he says that later.
Right? The children are not happy because there's no brakes for dad, right? Like brakes on a car, that kind of brake. There's no brakes for him. And so he kind of gets away with anything. He exasperates the children. And again, the marriage is usually unhappy. Right? She doesn't have much of a brain. She doesn't have much of a personality.
Bro, I feel like even when guys talk like this, where they keep going on and on about how weak the woman can be, it feels telling too.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're a young man and you're looking and you're saying, what kind of woman should I pursue? Just know this is unbiblical. Right? This patriarchal doormat is not something that's good. It's not something that you should strive for. You want to avoid that one at all costs.
I think it's telling it in a way that, like, he's not saying that, like, she feels pressured to act this way because of all of these other implications and whatnot. What he's saying is she doesn't have much of a brain. He's saying that she's stupid and vapid.
This bird brain loser.
He's going to that direction rather than saying, like, she has been held back from voicing her opinion and making these decisions her entire life, has been told that it's a bad thing to do, and therefore does not do it.
I do agree. I agree. But I also do feel like when I see a woman that is, like, clearly been, like, made submissive by a domineering husband, I still find there to be some amount of choice in that.
Yeah, for
right.
sure. Like there comes a point where it's like when someone starts to brainwash you, there's the question of, like, okay, well, what then do you do about it? Do you sit there and continue to be brainwashed? And I get, like, you know, when you're in a relationship and there's other things on the line, like reputation and shit like that you don't want to give that up. And then, you know, 30 years later, it's too late. And you realize, like, oh, I fucked up 30 years ago.
Like, I gave up too much.
Like, I get that can happen. But yeah, that's the fact that you stood by and allowed it to happen in the first place sucks.
Here's the thing. I feel like I understand, but I think it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that people do. I guess in general, I don't like much gender-based advice, in a sense where there's clearly a place for it, but it feels weird because the advice you could be giving to one, it should be good for both. It's like,
yeah,
good people shit, not good man stuff or good. I don't know. It's that. I feel like I'm not.
No. I think I get what you're saying. It's not, like, specifically, like, with gender role stuff. It's super weird. But yeah, the idea of, like, not. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. These are the things you should do to be a good person, to be a helpful member of, you know, your community, you know, whether that's just the immediate family or whatever. Like, these are the things that good people do.
Yeah, here's a better explanation for what I said. I would feel like it's super weird if we did a podcast on, like, what's the perfect girlfriend? Like,
yeah.
But I would see it as probably, like, a good thing if we did a podcast on what makes a good partner.
Yeah, agreed. Because I think those answers, if you're looking at it in an objective manner, those two
should be the
things
same.
Should be the same, exactly.
Yeah, like, some people might. Whatever. Fuck Eric Conn.
Fuck Eric Conn. He's getting to us, Steven. We can't let him divide
He's
us.
fucking with me, man.
I think one of the problems is that this ideal appeals to a lot of men because they think,
I fucking
wow,
hate
that
this
would be
dude.
really great if I could just totally
terrible.
rule and trample over my wife in this way. I'll get whatever I want.
Bro, that's what you preach, dummy.
Well, here's a little secret, guys. If you're a masculine man, you want a woman who, in the right ways, knows how to push back. She knows how to challenge you when you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe
You're
it.
gonna need a woman who's strong of character. And so that stands contrary to this doormat idea.
Agreed.
I think about
Right.
the times
Yeah.
where I've needed my wife to say no. Right? I've needed her to say, you are in sin or you're being stupid.
You're in sin.
Again, I welcome those things
Eric,
in a
you
woman.
stepped in sin
You
again.
should not want a woman who's a
Hey, brother, you got a
doormat.
little sin on your
You
shoe.
want a woman with a godly opinion and with wisdom. All right, number 2. What is another false ideal within the church of femininity? Well, I'm going to call this the prairie muffin, Little House on the Prairie model.
Prairie muffin.
Right? This is the idea of trying to recapture some past era
The homesteaders.
Laura Ingalls Wilder type fiction. You read Little House on the Prairie, and now you want to be a prairie muffin Christian.
Okay.
You're going to wear denim
Mhm.
jumpers. You're going to make your own clothes. You're going to weave your own yarn.
I hate those people.
Because you read this overly romanticized fictional novel.
Just go to Michael's, dog.
And now you think that that's the ideal for the Christian life in today's world. Right? Being a prairie muffin is not necessarily the same as being biblical.
Bro, these people live in
the
a
same
different
way, being
world.
a
You're telling me you're
1950s
paying to raise and keep alpaca so that you can make socks?
For God.
It's like $10 for a pack of them.
Be a real American and have some child slave in
Yeah,
China
exactly.
make it for you. Jesus. Be patriotic.
Womanhood. And so, men, if you find a girl, you're a young man, you're looking for a spouse, you find a girl who's prairie muffin.
I can't answer
Really think twice.
You can't take them seriously.
It's like
Right, maybe
so
her heart's in the
wild.
right place, and her parents have just sort of misguided her. But I've known a lot of these people, and it usually ends very badly.
They become city muffins.
What's funny is how many of them I know that grew up in sort of patriarchal denim jumper environments, and now they're left wing as all get out.
I hate denim
Right,
jumpers.
they go completely
Almost as
off.
much as I hate Christians.
One day they're spending
They
it
go
on
hand in
Sunday,
hand.
they're
They should be crucified in every major city.
Number 3 is the Victorian.
Bro, that's like my new favorite line.
Gosh, this is such a big problem, right? Girls don't need
They should be crucified.
Yeah, just any whatever religion they are, that's how their lifestyle determines their death style, you know?
I need to find Mr. Darcy. Okay, well, just because you read it in a novel, A, doesn't mean it's real, and B, doesn't mean that's the ideal. If you are in that realm and you're not sure what I'm talking about, I would encourage you to read Rebecca Merkel's book, Eve in Exile. She talks about this.
I bet
She
that's
talks about the different waves of
classic.
feminism
Yeah.
and how they've shaped the
Just do a little
culture and
quick
even the
little
church.
googly.
But especially, she
Eve in
unpacks this
Exile.
idea of trying to recapture a genre, a time period that didn't even exist. It doesn't exist now, and it didn't even then.
Oh, there's a movie.
Right? It was fictionalized even at the time.
So Eric is advising us to read this book, Eve in Exile, The Restoration of Femininity. Now, the Amazon description is as follows. The swooning Victorian ladies and the 1950s housewives genuinely needed to be liberated. Oh, God. And then he's going to say today they don't. That much is indisputable. So the first wave feminists held rallies for women's suffrage. Second wave feminists marched for prohibition, jobs, and abortion. Today, third wave feminists stand firmly for nobody's quite sure what. But modern women who use psychotherapeutic antidepressants at a rate never before seen in history need liberating now more than ever. The truth is, feminists don't know what liberation is. They have led us into a very boring dead end. Bro, it's only $14.50. I mean, that's got to be a hell of a read, right?
Probably. There is a movie out. I bet we could probably.
Have you seen this whole counter jerk? There is a group of women primarily online that call themselves feminists that are anti-feminists.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, where they truly believe, like, the argument is the classic feminism, fighting for women's suffrage, voting, all that shit. That was good, but today feminism is bad. So they consider themselves true feminists by believing that women should be housewives. All that dumb shit Eric's gonna say. It's interesting in which one's the worst? Korea. North Korea's the worst one. In South Korea.
Not which one's the good one, which one's the worst one.
Bro, South Korea right now, I believe it was Pew, but there was a research study. Over 70% of people in South Korea want to leave South Korea. They are deeply unhappy, right? Like the youth, their dream is to leave, right?
Yeah.
And they're experiencing a feminist movement currently. I forget the name of the org or whatever, but they call it the 4Bs. And a lot of young women there, it's the fourth, I forget what all of them are, but it's like, don't fuck men, don't marry men, don't befriend. It's like 4 pretty extreme anti-men things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now young men are very upset by that.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically just fuck with these women, the feminists there. And it's becoming like a pretty big cultural problem. I don't know where I was
cool stuff, man.
going
cool
with that,
stuff.
but I just like to stay up to date.
It's a fun little bit of knowledge.
I guess what I wanted to get to is there's still clearly a lot of things in America that are not fair between the sexes, right?
Right.
But worldwide, there are still major inequalities that are often overlooked.
For sure.
I know India has massive problems too. I don't know. When I hear people like Eric talk in general, my line in the intros, I think is really true. All the things that he thinks are compassionate are really just additional oppressions. And that's, I think, what we're going to hear more and more of in this episode.
And that's where we get this Victorian era maiden. She sits on the couch. She gossips. She's a creature of luxury and comfort.
Oh, we're on the Victorian women, right?
She is sort of vacuous in between the ears. She knows how to play the piano and cook a good meal.
I feel like it's so telling.
That's all.
Like if I characterize,
she never challenges her husband.
People this
She
way.
barely ever has thoughts of her own.
She doesn't even have thoughts of her own. It's not that she just doesn't speak them up. She just doesn't have any.
Bro, so he starts this episode about what is the ideal woman on stereotypes of like dumb women. It's like, what?
Getting hair appointments in soap operas.
What is the intent here?
Yeah.
She's not just a consumer of unnecessary luxuries. There's got to be more to the ideal woman than this. So again, men, beware of these.
Okay, it's just giving negatives first, then he's going to get to the good women's.
Yeah. He just has all these shower thoughts, and he just needs to get them off his chest.
And then fourth and finally, there is, of course, militant feminism.
Oh, militant feminism.
Yeah, you're going to want to stay away from this one at all costs. It's usually pretty easy to spot. But I think the problem is that so many times you meet a girl, and look, dude, here's what you say. She's hot. You're a young man, you've got hormones. She knows how to do her makeup. And then you're hanging out one day, and she says to you, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that people want to take away a woman's right to choose what she does with her body."
Oh my God.
and you're like, what? This is probably not good, but she's a good kisser.
Jesus.
Right? Look, dudes, this is how it happens.
No young man has ever been excited about kissing. First off, and it's always weird when old men talk about young men's hormones. It's always odd.
It's pretty fucked.
Like, what's going on?
Men get married to feminists. It's one of the big reasons.
Because they're so good at kissing.
Well, they can't have sex yet, Steven. They have to save themselves for marriage.
Right? When you're young, especially, and you're dating a girl, you don't think to yourself about what the long-term ramifications of a person's ideologies are, but they're very, very weighty and important. Right? And because we live in a generation of bastards, we don't have fathers to tell a son, like, dude, I know she's hot. I get that. Look, her jeans are painted on. I get it. She's fine. But it's a world of hurt, bro.
Bro.
Right? A father needs to look his son in the eye and be honest about that.
Son, your girlfriend is banging, but can I keep talking about her jeans?
He just turned his chair around and turned his cap around mid-sentence.
Let's rap about this girl of yours, son.
Maiden, and finally, avoid the militant feminist.
God damn.
I know she's hot, but have you heard of our Lord and Savior, Jesus? Because that dude.
Let me tell you about this big, muscular, horny man.
Dude, his muffins. His prairie muffin is out of control.
We're going to find out women have a purpose. They're to be productive.
Bro, he's allowing women to have a purpose.
This is where they receive.
What a dumbass.
Thank you, Eric.
Husbands and fathers praise their wives and mothers is because they're actually valuable to a household economy. Look at
Bro,
that.
as long as she stimulates the household economy, she's okay by me.
Yeah.
Proverbs is interesting because it's a book written from fathers and mothers, predominantly fathers, but fathers and mothers to sons.
Jesus Christ.
Can't
So
handle
Proverbs
it,
is
bro.
really, when you think about it, all this wisdom literature is what fathers and mothers should be teaching to their
He
children.
gets real when the trap music comes on.
He thinks he's doing something, man. That beat kind of turns on. He starts just crip walking to the Bible.
And note how practical it is. The main thing I want to highlight today is what Proverbs and the father, Solomon, says about two types of women. On the one hand, there is Lady Folly. She's loud, right? She's mouthy. She's also pretty. And she's seductive.
Fucking succubus,
And this is a
isn't
problem
she?
for young men. This is why the father warns against Lady Folly. Stay away from her. She'll entice you with sweet words.
And then she's going to demand that you give her respect.
She'll make your life
And then she might kiss you.
So fathers should tell sons, stay away. And then on the other hand, there's Lady Wisdom. And we're going to turn now to her in Proverbs 31. Of course, this language, Lady Wisdom, will show up earlier as well.
It's so
Too
One of the
much.
quintessential
Bro, he's going
pictures
into
of
more music.
a
He's got another music break. It's
Bro.
been like a minute and a half.
He's rocking out, then thugging out.
As we look at Proverbs 31, I want you to notice the different characteristics, and we'll go through them, of this Lady
Yeah,
Wisdom.
break it down.
Right, this godly wife and mother.
This dude's a priest.
It's fucking awful.
Foundation to a household economy.
People turn for him
Right,
for
don't-
life
don't miss that. I
suggestions.
want you to hear it.
Wild, dude. Just lost people. Just lambs to slaughter.
She is the productive center of a household economy. This is why she's so valuable. Again, this is why the husband and why the sons, they praise her, because she's central to the economy of the home.
Yes, because she's a mother, and that's all she can be praised.
Notice what's said about her. Number one, she, instead of being mouthy,
Damn.
she has a mouthful of wisdom. Right? Instead of sitting docilely in her house
I
watching
can't,
soap
dude. I
operas,
don't have...
she's constantly investing the family money in managing the property. She's buying and selling land.
Mommy
She's
money.
overseeing the finances of the house. She's industrious,
Bro,
and she runs a tight ship in the household.
put her on the factory
Because
line.
of this, her husband and her children praise her.
Bro, if she's not a banker and a line worker, get her the fuck out.
More than just what she looks like, right? The end of Proverbs 31 says that beauty fades, and it can be a distraction. Obviously, beauty is important, but it can distract you from the really important things. And those are being a productive, essentially small business owner in the home.
The mom with like one of those green poker
kind of thing that you should be looking
hats,
for.
like
in a woman. How does she work? Can she manage other people well?
Like, oh, she's green for the finances.
On the flip side, if you're raising daughters, these are the things that you ought to be teaching them. Sure,
this is my stock market.
She knows how to keep her family fed.
She also makes dinner.
She's just like counting.
She knows how to keep the books.
Spreadsheets of cows and chickens.
For running a complex business out of the home.
Oh, we got 10 eggs today, Timmy.
Because today what we've done is we've taken the woman out of the home.
Get her out of there.
And we've sent her into the workforce. And we've largely done the same thing with men. The problem is the productive property is not in the home. And so as a result of that, you're really a wage slave to somebody else.
Okay,
wage slave to somebody else, not to me anymore.
Exactly. 14, 18. Don't let women go to work because then they're not fulfilling the holy role as mother and landlord of the house, right? They got to be keeping up with the local economy in their household where they're truly cherished. And by letting them go to work, that wouldn't be true liberation or equality. That would be oppression because they're just wage slaves to another man. It's very, I see what he's doing. Like to an idiot.
Yeah. To an absolute babbling fucking idiot.
It sounds like he's got something cooking on the stove, right?
Yeah.
He thought he did something there, but it's pretty sad. Like
the fact is, I think the biggest telling part of that sentence that he didn't even like catch on himself was wage slave to another man, rather than just a wage slave. If like the fact that it's like, okay, you're acknowledging that you want her as a slave to you, a servant to you,
like chattel, yeah, because that they're your breeding stock. And they can't be allowed to just roam freely being another man's slave. No,
it's like you can't send your kids to college because then they're going to get all these liberal thoughts in their head.
Yeah, like feminism.
Yeah.
Where they might want to work a job. God. And especially in our world today, like, there are old-fashioned, and not politically, but like there are conservative and old-fashioned people that want a more historically typical relationship where they want to be a more submissive role, stay home, whatever. Like, that's fine. But the idea of it not being okay, especially in a world where most people can't afford to have one half of their income stay home or whatever, like to say it's not okay for people to do what they want, it's just outright oppression. Anybody should be allowed to do anything. It's so dumb.
I was also going to say, I've been watching videos about like Reddit stories and stuff, and a lot of them are like the dudes that are like this, where they try to, turn around a relationship. They'll say like for like years we dated and like this never came up, and then suddenly he's like been listening to these podcasts, and then like
that's
he wants, or like he's listening, I go to meet his parents and they're super conservative, and like now that we're talking about marriage, he wants to, make it like a really traditional household kind of thing, and like wants me to doesn't want me to be able to work, wants me to stay home and while he goes to work. And it's like homeboy, you don't make enough money on your own to pay for everything.
This isn't even a possibility.
So I happened to look up what a pastor's salary is.
Bro, that's a wide range. I mean, it's nothing to everything, right?
Yeah, it's the median, like average salary for a pastor in the United States
60K?
is 48.
Okay.
A year.
Everything's covered too.
The median is 60.
I'm on the money. Holy shit. And all their living expenses are covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy 60K. Easy.
So, It also reports that the bottom 10% of pastors make 35 or less, while the top 90% make $96,000 or more.
And evangelicals, I believe, are on the higher end of the spectrum.
Yeah, they usually have larger churches, larger congregations.
And they do a lot of the, what is it called? The prosperity gospel shit.
Yeah. Send in your money, send your first portion of your income to God.
Yeah. Bro, it's just all, man. Like, I feel like going in those churches, it's like right off the bat, I'd feel, oh man, like half the people there are just like oppressed through brainwash, and the other half are just terrible trash people.
It's a sad world.
Eric Conn's king trash on his poop throne. I thought about it. That was the best I had.
Sometimes it's all it is. Sometimes it's a throne of poop. Sometimes it's a trash king on a throne of poop.
So there's this great irony. Women in the feminist movement will say, well, we need to free women by sending them into corporate America. But you're not freeing them. You're making them wage slaves just like the men.
Choice is freedom, dumbass.
And trust me, I've worked in corporate America. That's exactly what you are. You're a slave, often to a very oppressive boss and or corporate system.
Welcome to the world.
So if you want to free women,
oh, God.
what you need to do is empower them with productive property in the home to work for and with their husbands. Right? Start a small business in the home. Of course, it's hard work. You need to bring the productive property back into the home, and that's where you need the man and the woman to be.
You want to work a job as a lawyer when you could make candles for me?
Who's going to make my candles?
We have so many sandwiches to make right here at home, honey.
Why do I bring this up? Well, because that's what's killing our culture. And there's actually a historical trend to back that up, and that's what I want to talk about now.
Please do. My dude just stroked out. 15 seconds of silence.
Now, for those
Is that really what's happening? Oh my God.
I want to recommend a couple books.
Bro, he thought he was going to have an ad roll, but couldn't get the numbers.
Feminization of the American Culture.
I guess that pastor salary isn't very good.
Douglas was a feminist.
Hey, as a reminder to the audience, we are the underdogs here. This dude, he may have started small. He's getting up there now.
Yeah, he's huge.
It sucks.
And she did a really nice job of showing how in the pulpit and among women, and especially female fiction writers in the 1800s and 1900s, how that shift in theology and the things that they were
We're
writing
basically
about
rebels on Tatooine.
So
Fighting the Sith, okay?
I'm going to be really referring to that a lot today. That's where I'm getting a lot of my information. And we'll talk about it in later episodes, but I also want to encourage you, if you want to know more about this from a practical standpoint, a biblical standpoint, what am I talking about with productive property? What am I talking about with household economy? I want to recommend two books, both by Chris Wiley, C.R. Wiley, as he goes by in his books. Number one is Man of the House. That's C.R. Wiley, Man of the House.
Bro, I feel like that sentence was the type of man who chains a woman to the kitchen table. It's just like, I feel like there's some like psycho subtext going on.
Very, very practical tools on how you can bring the productive property back into your household and establish a biblical, robust household.
Robust.
It could never be more important than it is right now in our Rona-crazed world.
Oh, he's going through COVID. He's a little
I
loopy.
recommend that book to you. Again, that's Chris Wiley, C.R. Wiley, Man of the House.
Don't forget, he did start his podcast at the beginning of COVID.
I think the next episode is how the church handled Rona.
Chris Wiley. That one is produced by Ken and Pratt.
Also, I'd like to point out, people that say Rona instead of COVID are fucking pussies, right? All right, this is a real thing. They're afraid they're going to get banned on social media, so they're like, oh, well,
You can't say it. They're going to demonetize me. They're gonna take away my a fraction of a penny per click.
YouTube might eat my cookies. How did the church handle Rona?
I promise now we're gonna jump into the historical shift.
Okay, get current, motherfucker.
In the
right?
Early to mid 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
and really hit full swing in about 1860 to 1890.
Good year.
And that is the shift in American culture away from a productive household and productive women in the household.
Is that when we started
to
having
a
public schools?
luxury consumer-based
Yeah, right about 1890, American economics fell right off a cliff. That's where we really fell apart, was the Industrial
They
Revolution.
were working productively in their households. As a result, the women that you read
That's
about in this
what he's
era,
actually
say,
saying.
late 1700s to early 1800s in America, most of the women are almost identical.
When women went to
Proverbs
work, that's
31
when
woman, right? They're
our
working in their
whole
homes,
economic
they're working
upcline
land and the farming side of
tail
things.
dove.
They're working with animals. They're selling. They're buying. And
That's
they
what he
are
said,
really
right?
centerpieces in the home.
That's absurd.
And so Ann Douglas shows how so many of the men in that era just revered their mothers. Not in a sappy, sentimental way, but they were literally just a huge component of the household. But she shows this shift that when industrialization
Pause.
came...
1851. Real men hate their mothers. Okay? We're supposed to love our moms, but we're supposed to hate mothers. Okay? There's nothing sacred or glorified or particularly extra special about it. I said it.
I think the idea of love her because she's your mother, yes. I think you lose me with men should hate moms.
Yeah, that's the joke. But,
yeah, that's a hill I'm not willing to die on.
but how do I say this?
Like I believe that, of course, blood is not thicker than water. I can cut ties with somebody who is my blood for any number of reasons, and I don't feel the need or compelled to show them respect.
If they're not voting for K-Dog,
just
not coming to Thanksgiving.
You don't get turkey this year, Steve.
No, here's the thing. We're supposed to love the people that raise us well.
Yeah.
There is nothing special or inherently sacred about a person giving physical birth to you.
Mm-hmm.
I outright deny that.
The argument of there's definitely the argument of them being a good parent to you is the bare minimum of what they should do.
I agree, but even like let's take our what's the stupid orphan I always reference?
Tiny Tim,
that dumbass. Okay, that kid loves whoever would have adopted. I don't think he got adopted. Let's pretend
sure he's an orphan the whole way through.
You love the person that fulfills that role well.
Yeah.
That birth in and of itself is not a sacred or righteous thing.
Right.
I think that is
it's not the gift
harmful.
that people think it is.
I agree with that, but I wouldn't make that my argument. More that I think where I'm trying to attack Eric from is he is placing the sacredness or the only respect he's showing to women through what he's saying and not saying is from their birthing capability.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a woman who was born infertile, like they knew this at a young age, survived cancer, whatever, how could Eric do an episode about them ever being an ideal woman? They would have no qualities of which he could respect them.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point more. It's not that moms can't be special because they birthed you, but a bad mom is not special just because she birthed you. A woman that can't have children can still be special. Like his limited scope of what can be a good woman, I think is pretty disgusting.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The women and the men were moved to the factory, and especially the men in the beginning. As a result, the men went away from the home to make the money. Then he brought the money home.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman, who was in large part bored, especially if she was middle to upper class, well, her new role in society was simply to consume what her husband made.
just to consume.
Bro, he's just yapping.
So she was excluded from the realm of business, really for the first time now. She was no longer an essential piece of household economy.
It's just no longer a regular household appliance.
This is where we start to see pictures.
My dishwasher got another job.
Era pictures of the woman who spent her days reading fiction.
Now she wants to vote.
Talking to her girlfriends. Right? She's not really doing much.
Oh, yeah.
One of the other results was that men no longer really cared what women's opinions were. And women, in turn, became interested in religion, so they would go to church and they would hang out with their
they never
friends.
did that before then.
And that world was totally separate to the world of men. So here's the main point of that. The woman, when she became a consumer and not a producer, was
how
degraded.
dare she own things?
Did he just say the world of the church was not the world of
I'm just
men?
describing to you really sort of the early first wave feminism. Today, feminists will say that we need to send the women to work.
Let people do things. Who the fuck cares?
A woman is more than simply a mindless consumer. She's more than just the person who keeps track of all the appliances at the home and makes
Is your
sure
fridge running? Is your wife better catch it?
She binge watches Netflix, right? She reads thousands and thousands of raunchy romance novels to try and occupy her mind.
That harlot.
She daydreams about the husband she wishes she had. So when feminists are revolting against that picture of femininity, of being a woman, they're right. The problem is what they say is that we need to send women to work. Now, as any man has known, you go to corporate America, right? You have your soul completely sucked out by cubicle life. You realize...
This dude's a real country bumpkin, isn't he?
He's pretty fucked.
Right? It is being a wage slave. You're a slave to
all that
someone
horse
else,
fucking.
usually doing work that you don't care that much for.
You spend all this time in a cubicle, you could be at home fucking your horse.
You could be out in the stables like me.
Be a woman by taking her out of the home where she's bored to death and putting her in corporate America is the wrong response to a real problem. The real issue is that we need to return to a productive household. You need to take the means of productive property and you need to return them to the home. Right? And that could
So
be
stay
a
home,
photography
Eric.
business that you run. That could be a plumbing business. It could be a number of things, but essentially you own the productive property and that's how you achieve.
I feel like he just had a Freudian slip. You own the productive property.
Yeah.
So if you want to free a woman from the mindless drudgery of scrubbing the kitchen floor 3 times a day after dropping the kids off at daycare.
Dude has to clean the kitchen floor 3 times a day because he keeps pooping.
quit dropping shit on the floor, Eric. You're a grown man.
Build this household. Make lots of babies.
You can clean up after yourself, you fucking child.
Poopy pants Eric keeps making messes on the floor. That priest has poop in his pants.
I had to have my mom come back and live with me because my wife got a job and she won't clean my die-dye anymore.
Making babies, training those children.
Bro, if they just kept the covenants, none of this would be happening.
That's the work that has meaning. And when you have meaningful work for a woman, then I believe she will be a revered part of her community, her family, and her church. You return the woman to the household to do meaningful work, And that makes more of women, not less. This is the picture of Proverbs 31.
Oh, Proverbs.
Jesus. Yeah, you can't let her go out and be productive in society, do the things she wants to do, because that makes less of a woman.
And I want to look at, first of all, for young men. You're not married, you're single,
you're an incel, you're an evangelist.
You should be considering.
You're listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
You need to find a woman who can work. And when I say work, I mean someone who can
he knows
manage
his
money.
target audience.
I need someone who can run a small business. She knows how to manage
stable boys and choir boys.
Adult males. That's going to be essential. Think about
Rebecca made a show for boys
in the Old Testament. Think about the
young
patriarchs'
boys,
wives.
Hard boys podcast.
They had to know about animal husbandry. They had to know how to manage money, servants, all these things. Right? It was complex and it was difficult. And there was no HR department or accounting department to fall back on when you ran into trouble. This is one of the reasons...
Guys that hate HR departments are so great.
That's the reason that HR exists.
Yeah.
She wasn't a dainty Victorian-era prairie muffin, you name it. Right? She knew how to do real work and run a real business. So, men, you should be looking for women. Watch the way she works.
Why don't you just work for her, Eric?
Yeah.
Does she know how to work with her hands?
I'd love to see him wiggle into that logic track.
Dating goes wrong. Some of the best moments when I was dating my wife, it wasn't that we went out to eat, okay? Those are important.
It was when she made me food.
That's when she kissed me and made me food.
But I'll tell you the thing that won me over to my wife most of all. We would go to a friend's house and we would help them move. We would help them do a remodeling.
I saw her hoist those, move her straps on her shoulders.
The other family's children.
And move that couch.
I saw the way that she would prepare a meal for everyone. I saw the way that she would have put in a 12-hour day and not complain but be cheerful. Right? I saw her later in our marriage.
My favorite memory of my wife is when I made her move an entire apartment and cook dinner.
I'm trying to finish a job, trying to be faithful there. And my wife has completely moved the house and managed our children and managed the finances, and she's kept paying the bills. My wife is a rock in our family because she is a centerpiece of the household economy. So when you're looking for a wife, you gotta evaluate these things. You say to yourself right now,
this is rough, Eric.
I know, Eric, but this girl's hot. Right? But, okay, 3, 4, 5 babies in, like her body's going to change, bro.
Oh my God, he did the meme.
Like, you got to know that. There's going to be stretch marks.
He's doing the meme.
Oh, no, there's going to be stretch marks.
Is she going to be productive? Is she going to manage her household?
Called tiger stripes.
Right? She was hot when she was 20. Okay, the other thing I will say to you is, look at her family. You know, this isn't a one-to-one.
Christ almighty, Eric. This is terrible.
But you can evaluate the kind of family that she came from. What's her mom like? What was her mom's vision of what women should be like?
Dude.
And how does your wife, or your future prospective wife, how does she respond to that vision? Now, your future mother-in-law could be a raging feminist, and your wife could say, God, I hate that. Okay? And that's a good sign. But if your mother-in-law is reading Cosmo and watching raunchy TV and
Just long pause. That's a good sign. She hates feminism.
Your girlfriend sees that and has no problem with it. Yeah, that's going to be an issue. It's easier to vet these problems.
She's not going to respect you, bro. She's going to request way too much of you. She's going to have her expectations of you way too high. You can't live up to that.
So many dudes are in miserable relationships because they don't do this basic vetting process. And the last thing I'll say about point number 1 is, if you have good, wise, godly
After
parents,
like 3 babies, her vagina's not going to be the same, bro.
them to help you vet that process. You know, that was one of the formative things for me. I remember I had just met my wife in high school and we were dating. And I remember my mom said to me, she was like, this girl, I'm telling you, she's something. You need to pay attention, son. And it was helpful advice, right? If you have godly, wise parents who can help you see those things, then certainly lean on them. If not, find other godly people in the church. right? Older, godly people who've been successfully and happily married for a long time. Go out to dinner with them. Bring your date.
Yeah, go have double dates with old people.
Okay, that's point number one. Find a woman who can work, who can manage, who can run a business like a boss. Right? You want that. You do not want a weak,
You want a woman that can
passive,
run a business like a boss,
vacuous
but don't
brain
let her
woman.
work.
You don't want that.
Her business is at home.
It's not a home business.
She could be out making the family a ton of money to live a better life, but no. Could be fulfilling her own dreams and goals, but no.
Number two, find a woman who wants to make lots of babies. Right? This is just practically good advice. I remember when I was in high school, I went on a date, and this was the first date that I had with this girl. We went out to dinner, I think. And when we were at dinner, I asked her, I said, what's your view of children? Do you want children? What do you think of them?
This is a high school date.
And she told me, she said, I help out in the nursery in my church, and God, I hate children. I never want to have them.
Based. This is a keeper.
Okay, so I was like, check, please. I'm out. Peace. Hope you enjoy your food in the doggy bag when you take it home. I'll take you home.
Damn, he was real close to saying
I'll
it.
be a gentleman. I'll pay for the food.
Oh, at least he's going to be a gentleman about it.
Well, we see things a little differently. Let me take him. No. Doggy bag, peace.
But this is a one and done.
Just poop my pants. Gotta go.
And I look at that person today, and she has no children. She's like way too old to be still clubbing and acting like a tramp, right? You know what I'm talking about? I think she might be married, but yeah, still trampy.
Oh, he's talking about trampy.
She never fulfilled God's command. As far as I know, still holds that same belief. So that's a tell. Are you talking about poker players? You're looking for a tell. I'm telling you, one of the tells is what a woman says when you're dating, what she says about children. Does she want babies?
Oh, really? One of the tells is when you ask them about what they think about it.
Yeah.
Bro, she's got all these secret tells. If you
got these
ask her
secret
what
tells,
she-
you ask about her opinion, and she starts giving you opinions. That's her tell. Who would have fucking thought, bro? If you just listen to a girl, if you listen to a woman, and you just start hearing all this shit, you can learn all this ahead of time. It could save you a ton of time, bro.
It's crazy. They can talk.
They can talk.
Now, caveat here. I was talking to a dude not too long ago,
What'd he say?
and he's like going on dates, and the first question he's asking a girl is, so, based on your body type, how many children do you think your hips could bear?
Nice.
Okay, dude, you're a weirdo. Okay? You know, the whole point of flirting is being
You
subtle.
can't just ask that, even though that's what's deep in your head.
Right.
That's about as subtle as a dump truck going through a nitroglycerin plant. And it just lets me know that you're a creeper. So don't do that. But you can just ask a simple, subtle question.
Oh, what's his
What do you
alternative?
think of kids?
And
then watch the way that she interacts with
Yeah,
children.
the creepy thing to do isn't to, put your thoughts out there and put out what you're really thinking. The creepy thing, or the not creepy thing to do would be to hold that inside and let it fester and then slowly kind of pick apart what she says.
Maybe don't talk about kids on a first date, too.
It's pretty fucked.
One of the things about my wife I always loved, we knew each other through family friends. Before I had even gone on a date with her, my aunt told me, she said, this girl's beautiful, she loves God, and Eric, I'm telling you, she says she wants 5 boys. She wants lots of babies. She wants a big family. And I said to myself, pure gold.
Ugh, so creepy. Sounds like the fucking toy box killer or the Zodiac.
Right? We live in a culture where children are hated. That's why we murder millions of them every year. And so if you want to know kind of immediately, is your girl a feminist? Like, she might be trying to hide that from you, bro. But is she a feminist? Ask her what she thinks about children.
Covert feminist out there. You gotta be on your
Almost
toes,
every
man.
feminist that I have known will say something in their teenage years like, I might have a child when I'm like 35. after my career.
If she thinks she can amount to anything other than a mother, that's a red flag, bro.
It's a red flag, bro.
Or they'll say things like, oh my God, I never want children. I don't want to lose my sexy figure. That is a telltale sign.
Oh, man.
Girl says that to you.
The vocal fry.
Call for the check, pay the bill, get out. Okay? It's very, very simple, dudes. Number 1, can she run a business? Number 2, does she want lots of babies?
I feel like he's talking to kids he wants to. It's
Don't even think about
It's just got a vibe, yeah.
School.
Guys, don't make the mistake I
not
did.
To have your kids brainwashed to hate everything you love. So find out, does she want to have babies? Watch her in context while you're children. Again,
she want to have babies.
Go back to my wife. She would play with kids. She loved them. Like there was a mothering instinct, and
Stop talking about kids.
She was embracing that.
Weird.
It's weird,
thing.
Eric.
It's what God made her to do, and so it's the kind of woman you should want to marry. Okay, number 3. And finally,
moving on. Thank
you
God.
want to find out what her vision in life is. Right? What is the good life?
That is a
like
good
to
first
your
date question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Future Mrs. Whatever your name is.
Well, now you're losing me.
It's got to go beyond the way that she looks. It's got to go beyond. She does her hair real nice.
Like goals, ideals, inspiration.
Right? What's her vision for the good life? Is she going to be somebody who is productive in your household economy?
Back to the factory line.
Or is she going to be somebody who just wants to spend your money?
Jesus Christ.
Right? That's a recipe for disaster. I knew a dude
How
who
many-
made well in the 6 figures.
How many sandwiches do you think you could make in a day, though? Bro.
Let's say I gave you a budget of $25 a week. How many sandwiches could you provide?
But you guys live in a rented house, and your girl don't do nothing. You got kids, but they go to public school.
I'm just talking business.
Like, it seems like you don't actually have money. And he told me, he's like, no, dude, she spends all of it. I said, where does she spend it? He said, you just order off Amazon. Right? His girl bled him dry. He was married to this lady.
Damn, bro.
They're not married anymore.
So I don't date feminists, bro.
Yep, they're just going to use Amazon.
Bleed
Give
you
all their
dry.
money. They're going to give all their money to Uncle Bezos.
And have trashy hair and expensive trashy hair. Like, she didn't want to be no mom. She didn't want to be a part of no economy.
She didn't want to be no mom.
I mean, by spending your money, she is, being part of the economy.
And dudes, I'm telling you, do not. Worst thing you can do. Well, she's really hot, but I could change her.
Also,
Like, girls get a
don't
bad rap
ever
for
come on
that.
finances.
Say,
Ever.
"Oh, I can change it, dude."
Ever. Bro, I feel like it just robs both people of autonomy.
Yeah.
We're not a we. We're us. I don't know. Like, keep your own shit and then make a together account.
There's no I in team, but there's also no we. It's just, this is the team.
And we be ballin'. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, sure.
We be ballin' with separate bank accounts.
He'll be pussy whipped. I can change him. But men are just as stupid. You are not going to change somebody like that. So it's so much easier if you just opt out, man. Don't have sex with this girl. Don't be macking out with her because she's going to get her hooks in you, bro. Right? What does the father tell the son in Proverbs? He says, don't even go near her house. Like, don't even be tempted. So those were the practical things. Find a woman who can work. Find a woman who wants to make lots of babies. And figure out what her life vision is. If she doesn't have one, might I recommend pretty much anything on femininity from Moscow, Idaho. Canon Press.
Okay.
One of the best books you can read is Even Exile. That's by Rebecca Merkel.
Out of Moscow,
Highly recommend
Idaho.
it. Read anything by Rachel Yankovich, right? That's Doug Wilson's daughter. Both of them are. Both married, both lovely ladies, very godly and wise. Check out, speaking of resources, check out Summer Yeager on sheologians.com.
Sheologians. Oh boy.
Sheologians.com. Another helpful podcast on femininity.
Okay.
Quality stuff. If you have questions
Articles.
about what feminism is,
We might have to do a guest
recommend
episode on that one.
Oh, they're woman hard men.
20 hours
Yeah.
of podcasts that she has
Oh,
that
shit.
deal with, and the series is called The Poison of Feminism.
That'd be fun because then we could make fun of a woman. A godly woman, I bet.
Oh, that belongs in the blackmail folder.
All right,
It was
last
funny.
thing I promised you that we would deal with. Now we go to a tricky subject.
Bro, he be tricking.
What if you're a dude and you're married? Well, you already made these mistakes.
Oh, okay.
Right? You married a feminist. You made a mistake.
You're all fucked
That's
up.
where God has you. How can you be faithful in this situation? Well, actually, I think the scriptures have a lot to say to this sort of situation. Really, the question you should be looking at is like a 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Paul's going to address this. What should you do if you're married to an unbeliever or you're unequally yoked?
All right, ShiaLogans.com.
Yeah, that's what I'm at too.
Articles. The Woman Bible versus your devotional Bible. Okay, interesting. So in their latest book, Recovering from Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, the opening chapter is titled, Why Men and Women Don't Read Separate Bibles. I assumed what would follow would be a discussion about the Woman's Bible, the only gender-specific Bible I'm aware of. It seems like they're advocating for a separate Bible for women. Okay.
This is the person that buys those, that bought the, like when a brand of like pen, like any product like makes a pink version of it.
Right.
Like, well, I got to get the ballpoint pen that's made for women.
I'm just reading random shit. While celebrities are being canceled for insisting that women are the kind of humans that menstruate, the insanity, while the most radical movement the country has ever seen is insisting that there is a genocide going on against the, in sarcastic quotes, trans community, while men dressed as women are allowed in girls' locker rooms, while more and more of our youth are opting out of marriage altogether, the most religious among us, Jesus. Among Us.
That's the hard take
Among
on
Us.
here. They're playing Among Us. So this is an anti-trans podcast.
Yeah, what do they call them? TERFs, women's that hate trans.
Yeah, trans radical. They're trans exclusive radical feminists.
Yeah. Summer Yeager is the wife to one excellent. All right, this is the first sentence of her bio. Summer Yeager is the wife to one excellent man and a homeschooling mother of 4. Wow. That is a wild first sentence. When she is not blogging or podcasting, she is perfecting the art of the slow-cooked meal and wishing she was taking long-ish walks on the beach. Holy shit. Top comment? This is fire. Thank you.
Now, in the About Us section, it has the picture at the top shows a Summer White, and her picture is labeled with their name, Summer White. And then it shows that her dad is Dr. James White, but they refer to her as Summer Yeager on everything else. So maybe she was married in between. Oh yeah, she doesn't have a ring on her finger in this picture. Maybe she was married since that was set up and they just haven't
I think it
updated
is
it.
A complete contradiction. Eric would endorse 2 young women with such trashy, what did he call it, hair?
Trampy?
He said something else. Expensive and trashy. If these women weren't, I'm not explaining myself well, he would have harsh judgments of how these women look if they were not endorsing the same things he was.
Yeah. But it's all about the theology, Stephen. Besides, they're not his reproductive appliance.
Right. We exist to fill a void many women in the Reformed can't feel. Culture, politics, art, our attitudes, our relationships, and the whole of our lives need to be viewed through the comprehensive Christian worldview. We hope to help put these lenses on while dissecting these issues, as well as provide a safe space for Calvinists to feel as though they can laugh again. We hope to push back on the squishy, postmodern view of women that has infiltrated the church. We hope to be the antidote to the feministy, presuppositional poison that so many are unaware they hold to. Wow, that is fucking inspired, bro.
Here's a podcast episode titled The Taylor Swift Question. In this episode, we tackle the question, should I let my daughters listen to Taylor Swift? We have been asked this quite a bit, and we do think it's worth considering, so we fall down the rabbit hole of content choices, wisdom, freedom, and hopefully creating standards that are a joy to obey.
I think we just unlocked our side quest. Now, that could be a fun episode to do with your friend.
Yeah, I agree.
That could be pretty funny.
Oh, there's a comment on this episode. Hold on, let me read this. I am in my mid-40s and grew up in it says green up, but I think they meant grew up. I grew up in a first-generation Christian home. One of the best questions my mom had asked us when we watched TV or a movie, and it could be used in other areas, was this. Would Jesus be able to watch this with you? Could you be comfortable with him watching this with you?
The real question should be, can you make him come by the end of it? If it's a yes, you're good to go.
If you feel comfortable with this strange man in your room while you watch this, then it's okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
We're gonna get my boy Jesus from down the street. He's gonna come in and he's gonna watch Gilmore Girls with you. And if this doesn't make you comfortable, then you need to turn it off.
If it's good enough for Jesus to come to, it's good enough for you to come to too.
Agreed.
That's the law.
She may be a Christian. I'm not saying she's not. But at the very least, you are unequally yoked.
Yoked, bro.
And Paul has instructions. If you're a faithful Christian man, and she will allow you to bring your family to church, and she will allow you, she's willing to stay with you. Paul has clear instruction on this.
Mm-hmm.
Then
what up, Paul?
You move forward, and you lead her, and you love her, and you start where you are. God's not calling you to start where someone else is. He's calling you to start where you are.
Bro, this is drivel.
This means nothing.
I know a lot of men who are.
Babble.
That's okay. God will supply all the grace that you need in this situation.
I named my dick Grace.
And I let grace guide me.
Number one, you need to lead well. This is always the thing that men need to do, but especially in this situation, your wife needs to see you lead well. Bring your family to church every week. Find a church that preaches and teaches the whole counsel of God, that teaches the whole Bible, that teaches on economies and sexuality, things like feminism, masculinity, right? They will address the tough issues of the day. Chances are, if they will not address the tough issues...
If this dude bashed his head into a pile of rocks for 15 minutes, he'd come out smarter. I'm convinced.
It would be a good episode.
You need their support. And if they have godly wives, it gives you someone to hang out with and to hopefully be a good influence for your wife. The whole point of this wise leadership, you conduct yourselves well, you love your children, you're a
groom your wife the way you do your horse, and it'll all be fine.
Exactly.
Thanks, Eric.
And it makes you believable, right? It makes you not a hypocrite.
You get her a bottle of mane and tail.
Right? Show your feminist wife what godly, loving, faithful patriarchy looks like. That's number one.
The God-loving patriarchy.
Number two, you need to help expose her in the ways that you can to the Bible and to truth. It might be through subtle encouragement.
Might be through the feeling of spurs in their side or the shackles at their feet. But let them feel your grace.
He said, oftentimes you don't hit a nail head on to remove it. Right? If you're trying to pull
you hit it with a pillowcase full of oranges. As not to leave a mark. sometimes use a rubber hose or a phone book.
That story about the side of the phone book actually doesn't work. That's an old wives' tale, and they didn't know what they were talking about.
Just do whatever you got to do to get God's grace in them.
And as you're doing this, you should be praying for her. Right? This is the way that you should love your wife. You should pray for her. You should pray for her eyes to be opened.
Oh,
you should pray for her heart to be softened. That by your example
Jesus,
and by
Eric.
the teaching of Scripture, her heart would be changed and she would embrace biblical sexuality.
Ugh. Ah, dude, so fucking creepy.
Have sex with your Bible.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Do you think he's going to say stay icy?
For information, check out Eric
Oh, I think he is.
Let's hear what his sign out.
Be sure to follow me on social media, including
Oh, come on, Eric, give it to us. We know you're going to say it.
I'm edging, bro. I'm right at the edge.
Release him from his prison, Eric.
Please.
Until next
Give me
time,
grace.
Men, stay frosty.
Yes, yes.
Fight the good fight.
Oh, fuck
Act
yeah,
like
dude.
men.
Oh, that felt good, bro.
So fucked.
Bro, Frosty. Whew.
Boy, this one was
Twists and turns, man. That's what I was saying, though. I feel like it was both his
He did-
longest and most deceptive, because the first half was just fucking lies and nonsense.
he comes across like he's trying to like, this isn't the way women should have to feel. This isn't the way we shouldn't typecast these women.
They shouldn't have
know?
to live under the traditional patriarchal
Yeah,
oppression that the church used to feel.
we shouldn't categorize these women into these comical stereotypes and caricatures. But here's all of the traits and caricatures that you can look for.
Absolutely, it's concerning that so many people listen to this.
Yeah.
How are we voices? Here's something I don't understand. When I look back at my lost Google Drive or my high school MySpace page, and I see my own insanity. I'm not a fucking idiot, okay? I'm a little wacky. These people are fucking insane.
Yeah.
How are trash cats such as ourselves so much more reasonable? How are we the moral authority in this digital landscape?
It seems wild.
It actually really sucks because I don't care about much. I feel like both of us really, our standards are pretty low. It's like basics, right?
Yeah. I mean, literally the term just don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
It's like that's I think the easiest way to sum up my moral compass.
Golden trash rule. People that are assholes are just assholes. Like it's okay to hate rude people.
Yeah. There's the old there's the German saying, and I mean, at least there is in this Tumblr or Facebook post that I read years ago. And the saying was like, if you have 9 people seated at a table and one of them's a Nazi, you have a table of 9 Nazis. It's like if you're willing to befriend and put aside the fact that the swill that this person puts out and choose to still give them energy, give them aid, give them comfort,
oxygen to the fire.
It's that you're complicit in what they do and what they believe.
I would generally agree, but Nazis specifically, I have mixed feelings in the sense of there are a lot of really bad people in this world, and I think there are ways to confront or subvert or befriend people you disagree with, depending on what your true intention really is.
The idea of course, like if the idea is confronting and trying to dissuade in some way, but that's not what they're in
hopes that over dessert you maybe shift a bad opinion. Yeah,
the concept of that quote being that, you know, if you're willing to put that aside and not, you don't care about this isn't a deal breaker for you of like what makes this person worth spending your time with, then fuck that person. Or, fuck you too.
I mean, we're about at the election. I feel like the entire election essentially boils down to that. Like, are you willing to provide oxygen to the trash fire that is Trump? The people that are willing to put their name on that, even if they're good people in other ways, I feel like it reveals such a laundry list of disgusting qualities. It's hard to find anything redemptive, if that's a word.
Yeah. Redeeming.
Redemptive. I don't know, man. I there's a lot of, we grew up west side of Cincinnati, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty, in the grand scheme of things, a pretty ignorant place. And most of the people we've probably loved in our lives have had pretty, maybe not most, but a lot of influential people in our lives have had pretty small-minded thoughts. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I feel like it's really hard to come to terms with, hey, there's people I love that probably aren't very good people.
Yeah.
And how to figure out how to manage or adjust expectations or sever connection or whatever it is.
I think there is nuance to it in the way of like, I think it's 100% fair to say like, I'm not going to sever that person, but I am going to challenge them, and we're going to fight every time that we see each other. We're going to fight about it. I think it's fair. That sucks to do, but it takes a lot of energy. But if you're willing to put that forward, that's fine.
But when it's no longer worth fighting about with them, the relationship's probably not worth having either. Yeah,
I think that there comes to a point where you're doing that through out of spite. And because you're getting some kind of return on it that makes you feel good about yourself for. But as soon as you stop getting that, or it's becoming more work than it's worth, then, you kind of have to just, I fully recommend just step away. And even if it's just like, there are barriers to it. You don't have to cut ties completely. It can just be like, look, when we're around, we're just not going to talk about this, or we're just not going to get into this. If we get into this, then I'm going home. I don't want to be around this with you because we're going to go back and forth in circles, and I want to keep you in my life. But if you're not willing to grow, if you're not willing to budge on this, then, you can't be a part of my future in that way.
Yeah. Like you said, there's definitely nuance to it. It's hard to know how to, like, our world is very complicated, right?
Right.
But I feel like a lot of people that tend to agree with us often really suck too.
Yeah.
Like they're,
yeah, for sure.
I feel like it's similar to antinatalism. I feel like the most enlightened views are just like the don't be an asshole, don't oppress people, let people do what they want type of thinking. Like the true, like old school libertarian type thinking where it's just like, let people be free and don't hinder other people.
Mm-hmm.
And everything past that, it becomes more complicated, but that things are like so, it's so cliche. Things are so divided that even people that tend to be on the better side of things often really fucking suck too.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to a lot of times is like, regardless, like we all have wrong opinions too, but it often just comes down to like regardless of right or wrong, just don't fucking be an asshole, or like just don't fucking take shit from people, or don't prevent people from things. Like like really basic.
Removing people's agency.
Yes, autonomy, agency. I feel like we're in a really frustrating timeline that, I mean, I don't think it can be overstated how tenuous things are right now either. Yeah. I used to be like very removed from not just politics, but like culture. Like I didn't give a fuck what was happening in my city or whatever, because I'm going to fucking get high and sleep in my car or whatever. I don't give a fuck. But the more you like try to care or be engaged, the more, I don't know, the more things tend to affect you, or you're,
mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if that's what I'm trying to say, though.
I think the more you open your eyes to like some things, the more it's like, okay, well, this is this way because of this other problem, and then this other problem is this, is this way because of this other problem, and it kind of saps away from your energy more and more. Of like, it's not, you can't, if you care about one thing, it becomes entangled with other things.
That's true.
And I think that's why it becomes that way, because you can't, once you start down that rabbit hole of empathy, it becomes a lot more difficult to manage.
I definitely agree with that. I think what I was trying to get to, though, it is the material, or like the true realities of things are very topsy-turvy right now. Mm-hmm. We have like potential wars on multiple fronts. We have the world's superpowers engaged in effective Cold Wars. We have the world's largest religions believing heinous, violent actions are acceptable. We have over 50 to 70, whatever the percent of dumbass Christians that believe crazy shit. We have half of people that vote believe like coups and insurrections and rape and anti, like women shouldn't have rights, like shit. Like there are a lot of like really real fucked up problems of ideology right now. Like people, and I don't feel like things are like specifically like a politics problem or specifically a religion problem, although it's my primary concern. It's a lot of it. But we have like major problems in thought, in ideology, in belief, like in faith, and there is not a lot of common ground between all these factions and issues. There is not a lot of productive conversation. There is not a lot of empathy in those areas. And it doesn't, of course, everything looks better, like stereotypically better in the past, right? In a sense, like, oh, it didn't feel as divided, although things always have been, right?
Yeah.
But it feels like the various competing schools of thought are becoming more distant and extreme, and there will be very real consequences of that. I don't know if I'm explaining anything well today, but it feels that way.
Yeah.
Not that things are inherently more divided, but that the types of thinking are increasingly more extreme, which festers issues.
The age of information has made it more difficult to ignore the issues and ignore the division, but also
we're not in the same realities anymore with information.
We're also at the point now where the age of information has turned into, you can say absolutely anything and someone's going to believe it. Like you said, what was it last episode of just, flood the field with shit.
Yeah.
You can just share all this garbage and people will just eat it right up.
Well, I don't think mainstream politics is talking about it nearly enough that on election night, fuck this dumbass phone, Trump's for sure claiming victory.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like this has been largely a blind spot. The election laws and shit were not, like, they put a lot of additional guardrails in place, but we know there are lawsuits happening all over, like, the battleground districts and shit. And we know for sure the richest man in the world backing the ex-president who tried to coup the government, that this faction of people, Musk, Trump, all these fucking losers, the election night are going to claim hacking, going to claim lies, deception, that they won.
They've already set it up. They've already, they've never in any interview said that, explicitly said when asked, will you accept the outcome of this election? No. Never, not once. But, even if they've said in the past, like fucking Vance has said in the past that, it was, it was wrong to not, what Trump did.
Yeah. And then when they're in front of their group, they say it was great. But
fucked.
But I guess to full circle it, I find politics super fascinating now, but I don't feel like it's like the primary problem. If anything, I probably still think faith, religion shit is far more influential.
It's the
or upstream.
teaching and encouragement of believing without any logical or pattern, any kind of.
It's the root of dumbassery.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
It teaches and encourages you to not question and to be shitty and stupid.
We don't need Socratic method or evidence or scientific. Yeah, no, none of that matters because we have faith. But yeah, we have a thinking problem that I feel like individuals. It's the same thing as like my zebra herd theory or whatever. Like, people are beautiful. Groups of people are fucking ugly, and people can figure out thinking problems. They can be in a room long enough by themselves and figure shit out. But in collectives, people don't tend to figure thought problems out well. Sometimes, but it's more rare. I think we're in, it truly feels like we're in for like a really wild next year. But we shall see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's Ricky.
Yeah, that's my. That's make a soundboard of, or make a supercut of all of those.
Well, this is fun. Eric's a dumbass. Let people do whatever the fuck they want. Moms are neutral. What other conclusions do we got?
Moms are neutral. Fucking hell. You can't. Your wife has to know how to run a business, but you can't let her run a business. We learned that today from Eric.
If your wife's not a journeyman plumber,
how is she gonna unclog my toilet?
Yeah, from all my
I'm not gonna do it.
Oops. All right, let's get out of here.
All right. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his work today. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're fried, dude.
Yeah, we're fried.
Thanks, John.
Make sure to check out the show page at Trashcast on Instagram for news and art from the show. Check out Facebook for the memes.
For the memes, if you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYCSCX. Got some crazy stuff on the way, guys. Stick around, and yeah,
Steven's been sitting on a piece for a minute now.
I'm like 3 months into this inshallah nonsense. I'm in deep, man. I got through the whole write up. It's 22 pages.
Christ.
Of the terrorist attack itself, and now I am on to the manifesto part, and it's getting much more difficult.
So is this podcast going to mostly be you talking at me?
Yes, and I think we may end up implementing some pre-recorded stuff because it'll be pretty ridiculous.
Cool.
Here's the thing: is it's really hard to find good statistics about religious fanaticism.
Yeah.
Violent attacks tied to religion, stats are really shitty. It's very hard to get honest opinions on what's going on in large parts of the world that are ruled by religious violence. So it's proving much more difficult than I thought, because
where religion is law.
It really is like it's so stupid. It's like a guilt thing. Like, people just don't want to sound racist by attacking other cultures, even if the other culture has a problem.
Right.
Right. Not that the culture shouldn't exist or like any of that dumbass shit, but like, certain religions are worse than others and have problems with violence, and people are really scared to address it because a lot of people address it poorly. So there's like terrible information about things.
It's when and then you take that religion and make it the law of the land and the law of the government. Yeah,
where you say like a whole country deserves to be bombed or doesn't deserve to exist, or these people are subhuman. It's like that type of rhetoric is why honest conversations don't exist about.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so fucking annoying, dude. It's like really hard to find certain information, but we'll get to it eventually.
Eventually.
Yep.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash.
Okay, so I was like, check please. I'm out. Peace. Hope you enjoy your food. I am naturally inclined to be a coward,